Hello there, my name is Snowspawn and today I'll be going over my Face Annihilator Amara build. I created this build with the purpose of being the absolute most powerful melee build possible. I farmed most of the gear for this build myself over the course of several months to be as perfect as I can bother. The fun thing about this build is the fact that you can use any action skill you want and still be able to wreck Face. Now, I'm just gonna roll some gameplay footage of this build to just show you what it's capable of. It's insane, and I hope you enjoy the little epic kill montage that I threw together for you. Before I get into this, I'm gonna just do the obligatory please like and subscribe thing. Okay, yeah, please like and subscribe. With all the introductory stuff out of the way, let's get into the build. Each item that has a star on it is required for this build to work, while everything else is just extra optional stuff that you don't really need to farm. First up, we're going to be looking at the face punchers. All of them are going to be ×7 due to the fact that ×7s are more ammo efficient than ×14s, and each individual pellet on the ×7 does more damage than the ×14. While ×14s would be more effective if we were primarily relying on body and mind for our damage, we are not. Therefore, ×7s are going to be the best way for us to go. I have a bunch of them. We have 390, we have phase slam weapon damage, we have phase cast weapon damage, as well as a couple ×14s just in case you want to use those. But as you can see, they're not starred, so you don't really need to worry about farming them. Because I have on this build one face puncher that's effective with each and every action skill on Amara, except for Ball, but I personally don't really like Ball. But if you do like to use Ball, then I would recommend going and checking out B-Flatten's Ballroom Blitz Amara build. It's very good, and yeah, that might be closer to what you want if you want a ball-based build for Amara. So we have Phase Slam. Of course, if you want to use Phase Slam with this build, you're going to get the highest damage potential out of using Phase Slam. We also have Phase Cast. It's basically the same gameplay-wise as Phase Slam, but I have that there just in case you want to use it. And then 300 versus 90 if you would like to use Ties That Bind. We also have some Psycho Stabbers with all of the useful melee anointments. I farmed most of these myself. I got the 300 versus 91 from a friend. You're going to get the most damage per stab out of the 300v91, but if there are enemies that require multiple stabs in order to kill, I would recommend utilizing one of these other Psycho Stabbers, because the 300 versus 90 Psycho Stabber will only be effective really on the first stab. Here we have our shield. If you're running this build with Phase Slam, I would recommend using this specific Brawler's Ward. But keep in mind that if you use the shield with the Psycho Stabber with the same anointment, so Phase Slam Melee with Phase Slam Melee, the 2 Phase Slam Melee bonuses do not stack, so instead of getting 400% bonus from these, you would only get the 200% bonus from one of them. So I would recommend using, like, if you're using this Brawler's Ward with the Psycho Stabber, I'd recommend going with either 300 versus 90 or action skill and melee damage. If you are using phase cast with this build, you can also use this Brawler's Ward right here. It will be slightly less damage, but it will work. Now, when I am using Ties That Bind with mobbing, I usually tend to use the Frozen Snowshoe. I've heard that the Frozen Heart is better than the Frozen Snowshoe, but I'm going to be entirely honest, I cannot be bothered to farm for a perfect Frozen Heart for this build. I'm not entirely sure what makes them any better, but I guess they are, apparently, I don't know. I'd recommend using the Frozen Snowshoe with Ties That Bind because frozen enemies take 300% more melee damage, and that mixed with 300 v90 and Ties That Bind just makes for some insane damage. There's also these stingers here. They're just there, I guess. I don't really tend to use them with this build, but they're there just in case you want to use them. I also have these rerouters. I don't think they're very good, personally. I'm probably gonna get rid of these, but I might as well keep them because, yeah. Here we have our grenades. Now, the grenades that we're mostly going to be using for this build are going to be the It's Piss grenade with all of the action skill and elements on them. The ASE element anointment doesn't apply directly to the face puncher, but it does apply to the white elephant grenades, so that's pretty useful because you're able to match elements easier due to the fact that the white elephant grenades are usually of a random element or non-element, so yeah. The Piss Grenade debuffs enemies so they take 20% more damage from all sources, and this bonus is additive with the bonus granted from the Zetsev's Eruption, and multiplicative with the bonus granted from Laid Bare. I don't know how this debuff works with the whole frozen enemies take 300% more damage from melee, but it probably interacts somehow. I also decided to throw in a couple fish slaps, but they're not going to be the main grenade due to the fact that they are not easy to farm, due to the fact that, well, you can't farm them currently until the next Cartels event comes out. I might update this build later to include these once the next Cartels event comes out this summer. Also, I don't really feel like going around and trading in the community for a bunch of fish slaps with all of the action skill and anointments, because that would just take absolute ages and delay this video even further than I already have because I've been too lazy to work on this. Here we're just going to take a look at our class mods. The main class mod that we're going to be using for this build is this Muse class mod. But there is also a Breaker Comm just in case you do not have DLC 4. I also have a couple of the other melee class mods for Amara. The Kensei was a massive disappointment, unfortunately, but I'm going to include it anyways. Next up, we have our artifacts. Now, we're going to be primarily using Elemental Stone White Elephants because they give you a lot of damage. And I have a feeling that I'm going to get somebody that's going to tell me that White Elephant is not melee, but in my opinion, if you can consider the Face Puncher to be melee, then you can stretch the definition just a tiny bit more to include the White Elephant. Also, it's a melee-based artifact, so, like, yeah. Also, for some reason, the bonus damage from the Elemental Stone prefix applies to the Face Puncher, even though the action skill and elements don't apply directly to the Face Puncher. It's weird, but hey, what are you gonna do? The reason why we use the White Elephant is because it's the most powerful melee-based artifact in the game. Now you're wondering how that may be. if you don't know what the white elephant is, so allow me to explain. The way that the damage for the white elephant is calculated is it takes the damage of the melee attack that applied it, multiplies that by 2, and then applies elemental damage bonuses as well as splash damage bonuses. Now, if you do the math, you will realize that we are doing a hell of a lot of melee damage, and then if you multiply that by 2 and then apply elemental and splash damage bonuses, you will get an approximate fuck ton of damage. I have an elemental stone white elephant of each element, so you can swap them out, so you can match them up to be the most effective against whatever enemies you are currently fighting. I also have an Unleash the Dragon. It's not really all that great, but hey, it's a melee artifact, I might as well include it on the build. I also have a Snowdrift white elephant. Snowdrift is good for getting around and stuff. I also have an Icebreaker Victory Rush, just in case you would like to use that with Ties That Bind, as well as the Frozen Snowshoe. But it will not be the primary artifact that will be used. You'll get more damage out of all of these. Also, due to the fact that we had to sacrifice sustainment in order to get more damage, you might have some difficulty staying alive during certain boss fights due to the fact that you're only getting health on kills. So just in case you need a little bit of extra help staying alive, you can use this Knife Drain White Elephant. You'll lose a little bit of damage, but hey, if you're not alive to do damage, then you're not doing any damage. That's all the main gear for this build. There are some extra things as well, such as a butt plug if you want to plug your enemies' butts, an Unforgiven if you would like to crit swap for whatever reason, an EMP5 for mobility, a Vanquisher for mobility as well, a Zetsev's Eruption for debuffing enemies, and a couple other fun things. Now we're going to be going over the skill tree for this build. Because of the way that I have this set up, you can use any action skill you want. For Orange Tree, we are going to be speccing into Infusion so that our Face Puncher can get our action skill element for damage. Illuminated Fist, of course, because of the bonus melee damage, don't really need to explain that. And we are also going to be speccing Wildfire due to the fact that if you freeze an enemy and another enemy happens to be close by to them, there's a chance for that enemy that's close by to them to also get frozen, which is pretty convenient. But it's not necessary really to get all the way down to... You can take 3 of these points and then put them into somewhere else just if you want to. There's also Tempest for bonus elemental damage and stuff. It helps the white elephants do more damage. There's also Steady Hands, which makes your Face Puncher more accurate so you can hit your shots easier. For Green Tree, we are going to be maxing out Clarity because the health regen is a lifesaver for boss fights due to the fact that whatever setup you are using, you only get healing after killing things with melee. So this is great because you can just pop your action skill, get a bunch of health regen, and stay alive. Also going to be speccing into Arms Deal because that increases the damage of the white elephant grenades. They get bonuses from splash damage, as I've said multiple times throughout this video. We also have Find Your Center, which is just bonus melee damage. It's just good overall. And for Purple Tree, we have No Mistakes in Nature maxed out because of the insane boost to melee damage we can get from it. We also have Go With The Flow. I don't know how this skill interacts with the Face Puncher, and I don't really feel like testing it because that sounds hard. There is also Unweave the Rainbow, which is nice for bonus damage. We only have 1 point into Ebb and Flow because we are doing so much damage with melee that any kill will instantly give us full health. We also have 2 points into Trust in Yourself, mostly just to move down the tree, but the bonuses it gives you are also very nice. We have Combo Breaker, which is obviously very good due to the fact that every kill you get is a melee kill, so you can pretty much have 100% uptime on all of your melee bonuses. Next up, we have Joyful Freedom. It's just bonus melee damage whenever you use an action skill. It's really good. Sometimes you can get Joyful Freedom to stack on itself by fake grasping. So as you can see, 1 stack, 2 stacks, 3 stacks, 4 stacks, and these stacks actually function. This might be a bug because it doesn't say anything about stacks, so that might change in the future. We also have Burn Both Ends. This just gives you bonus damage to anything whenever you take damage from an enemy, which is really good because it gives bonus damage to literally everything. We also have Body and Mind. thanks to the Face Puncher's multiple projectiles, whenever you shoot an enemy with it, they become enveloped in a ton of novas. We also have Clear the Mind. It's alright, but due to the fact that you should be manually matching elements to things that you're fighting, it won't get that much use. Although it does allow you to freeze Wotan solid, which is pretty funny. For Blue Tree, we just have 5 points into Violent Tapestry. You can put those into Do Harm or Fast Hands. I just think that it might increase your cryo efficiency. I'm not sure. I don't know how to test that, really. You mostly just have the points in this just to get Soul Sap, just for a little bit of extra survivability. There's nothing really else that you need in this tree. And that is the build. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like. And if you really enjoyed it, then please subscribe. Goodbye, and have a nice day.